to try to be a little bit fast here. I'm going to have two products to demonstrate, CommonLook Office and CommonLook PDF. Usually it takes me about an hour to demonstrate CommonLook PDF alone. So I'm going to try to just go over features very quickly, and then hopefully if someone wants to ask more specific questions or see features and details, perhaps we can do this offline. So my first demonstration is going to be CommonLook PDF. This is a document that I will just use to demonstrate some of the features that CommonLook PDF provides. You can see, for those of you who are familiar with remediation and the tags tree, you can see that it's a pretty simple, straightforward structure. We have an H1, we have a paragraph, an H3, a figure, an H2, an H3. We have then a presentation table. The problem with this presentation table here is that it linearizes incorrectly. So the way that this table is going to read, this is just although it looks correct, but the way it's going to read is this is a test for a presentation table. This is the second column of the table. Table is just used to create two columns effect, again used for column effect. Right? Because it's going to read left to right, top to bottom. That's the way that tables read. Okay? I then have an H3 and then a table created just as a paragraph. Okay? And after that, I have an H2 as well. I have a list that's also in a paragraph. And I have a link, a heading, and also a paragraph that includes a link. I also have some form tags, and these form tags are not tagged. I only have the text here, in addition to lots of empty spaces as well. Okay? I don't know if I'm wearing this the wrong way. Okay, so I'm going to start CommonLook. CommonLook, as I said, is a plugin for Adobe Acrobat. The first step that it does, as I said, we could run into issues with the parent tree and ID tree and all those structures. CommonLook runs into a stage called the integrity validator, where it checks all these relationships between the tags tree and the parent tree and makes sure that everything is correct. If there are issues, it actually automatically fixes them and then opens the document here. Here we have our own version of the tags tree. The difference is, in this version, we have the tags and we immediately have the basic elements. So I have my text elements, and inside those I have the text runs. So I can do manipulation here. So for example, if I want to review the structure in the tags tree, I can look at the first one. It's a heading one. Okay, that's correct. The second is a paragraph. That's also correct. Now here is an H3. I need to convert it to H2. I can either go to the Convert Tags tab up here, where you can see I have lots of the most used tags, and I can also click on other tags and view all tags that are defined within this document or part of the basic tags. Here, if I want to convert this to H2, if I just click here on H2 or click Ctrl-Shift-2, I can also convert it to H2. So if I click Ctrl-Shift-2, so this is now H2. So this makes things much faster. We have shortcuts for for everything. Also, another thing in CommonLook is that everything is undoable. So you can undo from the start of your session, although you can redo and so on. Here I have this presentation table. So one of the options that CommonLook provides is the ability to linearize the table. Linearize it meaning convert it to a sequence of paragraphs. Okay? Now, you will see that whenever I right-click on any tag, it gives me context-sensitive operations that I can do for this specific tag. For example, I right-clicked on a table, I can do untag, etc., all the operations that I can do for any tag, but I also have the ability to linearize a table, insert a row, insert a caption, create linked headers, show table editor, etc. Linearizing a table here, I can either linearize horizontally if I want to linearize left to right, top to bottom, or I can linearize vertically if I want to linearize top to bottom, left to right. So this is what I need to do, linearize vertically. So I created 4 paragraphs now, and it proceeds like this. I can merge these paragraphs, again with a merge shortcut, or by selecting multiple tags and right-clicking. I can merge any types of tags by selecting these tags and just select merge tags, or Control M. Here I have the H3, and then I have a table with a caption. Okay? So another feature that I have here in CommonLook is the ability to highlight the table from the physical view, and then go to my insert tag and just click generate table from selection. So if I do this, I get my table, okay? And this table actually, if I view it in my table editor, you can see that it created it pretty decently, but not much. We have cells spanning multiple columns, so I can select those and change the column span to 1. So now it's correct. I will look into how we can make column headers and row headers later, just to demonstrate other features. Also, what I can do here is just take this tag, created the tag inside the paragraph. So I'm going to take this tag out of the paragraph, so I can click on level up. So it takes my tag up 1 level. So it breaks the tag into basically 3 tags. Okay? And this is supposed to be a caption. I can convert this into a caption and then just drag it and drop it inside my table. Okay? I'll look into the fact that we have a paragraph that contains paths later, because these paths need to be artifacted. Okay? Paths shouldn't be inside the paragraph. Next, I have an H2, and after that, I have a list. Similar to the functionality I just demonstrated with the tables, I can also highlight the list. And then go to generate list from selection. Okay, so I get again a list. Control P to level it up. So I have the paragraph, I have the list. If you look at the list, it even created the right list numbering for it. And inside that, I have one item, second item that contains also, I've got my L bodies and my labels. And inside here as well, we've detected that this is a lower alpha type of list numbering, and this has been populated into my list number. Okay. I have also, after that, the link, and if I want to create a link here, I will just highlight this, and then click on the link tag, create link. Now, the link here needs to be inside the paragraph, in line with the paragraph. So I'll just leave it as is. Okay. After that, I move to the second page. I'm going to show you a feature that deals with these untagged forms in a second. So I'll just ignore it. It's as if I actually didn't notice that these form tags are not tagged. Okay. And I also have some empty spaces, right? So there is a feature in CommonLook that you can do a cleanup, and with cleanup you have two options. You can either do a full cleanup where it will delete all empty tags, and you have the option of deleting empty tags and also tags that contain only spaces, in which case we would artifact the spaces. Or you can skip empty cells, because in many cases, empty cells are basically the only meaningful empty tags, right? Other than that, you actually want to delete them. But for cells, you might mess up the alignment of the table, right? Where table headers will not be associated with the right columns. So I'm going to choose this skip empty cells. So now all my empty tags are removed. Now assume that I think that my document now is compliant. I want to run it through the second part of CommonLook, which is the standard validation. Okay? We have two types of standard validation. We have structural validation, which checks for things being correct in terms of ISO 32000 structure. And also we have some structural issues where you have alternate text with no content, or you have empty tags, etc. And we also have some things like broken links, although no PDF UA, for example, doesn't prohibit broken links, right? But it's a good thing to check for, right? So we actually check for that as well. So that's under structural. The other part is accessibility, and as I said, we check for section 508 for WCAG 2AA and also for PDF UA or HHS. I'm going to select PDF UA and run my full check. So here is the result of my verification. You can see that we have multiple types of results. It could be either not applicable, passed, failed, warning. Okay, and so I'm going to filter the results that I had, by only the failed and the warning. There is also user verification. I apologize there, forgot to mention. So here are the things that are missing in my document right now. First of all, the metadata stream in the catalog dictionary does not include the PDF UA identifier. Okay? Now the way this works is I can just double click on the entry and it takes me through a wizard to fix this issue. okay, for the majority of cases. So here, for example, it's stating what the standard, the checkpoint, what the issue is, and then gives me fixed options. In this case, there is only one fixed option, which is to add the PDF UA identifier. So I'm going to select that and click Finish. So the issue is resolved and it disappears, right? And then I would go to the next item. The viewer preferences is not set to display document title. So again, set the viewer preferences to display that, finish, done. Okay, now I have an untagged annotation has been detected. Okay, so this form field is not tagged, is not within the tags tree. So again, I'm going to double click on this. And this is a very, very useful fix. It says detect the appropriate tag and reading order of the annotation. Right? And this can be applied either to forms or it can be applied to links and all sorts of things. So it will basically scan the tags tree and scan the position of the element and guess where this element should go and in what type of tag it should go into. So in this case, it should go into a form tag. And it should be, for this particular annotation, it should be immediately after first name. Right? The other thing is, I can select to apply this fix to all similar issues. Okay? So if I have multiple tags that are not tagged, okay, it's just go and apply the same thing. So I'm going to click Finish now. Now, here's what happened. It added 3 form tags, okay? 1 for first name, 1 for last name, and 1 for sex. Okay? So what's the next issue? This figure, the highlighted figure, is missing the bbox attribute. Or the bbox information is not correct because we calculated it and we found that it's not correct. Again, double click, calculate and set the bbox attribute, finish, go. Okay? Now I have an element of type path may not have caption as a parent. Okay? It's not an image, it shouldn't go under a caption. So if I double click, untag the selected element, I know that all issues in this case are similar issues, where I have like the lines for the tables or other paths, the underline for the link are also placed are not artifacted. So I'm going to select untag the selected element and again apply fix to all similar issues. Click Finished. Again, they're gone. This is a tag of type figure does not define the alt or actual text attribute. So if I double click, okay, provide alt actual text or expansion. Next, do you want to provide alt? Do you want to provide actual? Do you want to provide expansion? Alt. Of course, maybe if you're familiar with the issue, as soon as you see this, you would just go to the properties panel and type it there. But if you want to go through the wizard, you can do that as well. And in the alt, I will just type, say, centric glue. And finish. Here, oh, yes. Here, the table does not contain header cells. Okay? So again, the fixed wizard, the first option is to indicate that this table is actually a presentation table, in which case I would be offered to linearize it vertically or horizontally. The other option is to choose that this table is actually a data table with column or row headers or both. I can select that table is a data table and go next. Now I have multiple options. The table contains column headers only, row headers only, column and row headers, or do you want me to show you the table editor and you can just select which cells you want to convert to column headers or row headers. Okay. So this table contains only column headers. Next, so how many column header rows do I have? I have one row of column headers. So with two columns of one row of column headers. So I'm going to leave it selected at 1. Click finished. Again, that's resolved. The form annotation does not define the TU attribute. Okay? Which is the tooltip. The tooltip is not defined. So again, if I double click, it will try based on the position of the element or of the form field to guess what this tooltip should be. So based on the position, and since it's next to first name, it guessed that it should be first name. But it gives you the option to edit it. Okay? Now I can also use apply fix to all similar issues, but I have two options, some options now. Either use the default values or just use the parent value. So I'm going to use all the default values because each one of them is going to have a different tooltip. The first one being the first name, the other one's last name, so on. So use default values, finish. Okay. Here I have that the parent tag for the link annotation doesn't define the alt attribute. Okay. So I can again double click based again on the link position because it's where it says that Centric Technologies here. We're suggesting that this would be the alt text for the link. So if I click finish again, and I have just a sequence of things that is saying, just for you to know, I have untagged all these paths. Okay, if you want to double check them and make sure we haven't untagged anything you don't need to tag, you can double check. Okay. The last one here, or the last two, again just a warning that the table doesn't define the summary attribute. You can provide that or you can skip it. Okay, it's not a failure, but I think in the guidelines, in the PDF UA guidelines, we say that users are encouraged to provide this, the summary attribute. So we're just giving you a warning. This is not a failure, this is a warning. Okay? And for anything here, you can actually right click and change the status. So if I want, I can set that to passed. And I can provide a reason why I'm passing this. And this applies to anything, any of the results that I have here. Okay? Now, once I'm done with everything here, I can click on the report, and I can generate a report of the document's compliance. I can do that. I can generate a report that describes only one standard, a subset of maybe just the failures, for example, if I'm just a tester and I want to send this information to somebody who's going to remediate it, okay? Or I can generate, just a pass report, just to show that in our case, for example, all the documents that we do remediation would always have the remediated document along with a report, a compliance report. That this was tested with CommonLook and against PDFUA, and these are the results for all the checks, including ones that we have manually verified, which I can also do if I want to check that or test user verification. I can also go through all entries that contain user verification. Okay, if I want to check, for example, that the alt text provided is correct and so on. Okay? So this is one document that shows some of the features that are included in CommonLook. I'm going to show you another document that addresses some of the features or some of the issues that I talked about earlier today. Okay. Now here, I have a text tree that contains only paragraphs. Okay? And although in this case, if I look here, retail pharmacies should probably be the H1. Okay? And after that, I should have all the ones with the white text and black background should be H2, and then I have H3 and H4, right? And so on. So here, I'm starting here and I'm missing the H1. So I'm going to highlight this part and just create an H1. So I moved it up. Now this one should be H2. So again, Control Shift H2. This one should be H3. And this one should be H4. Right? Now this is where it really gets interesting. If I select this H2 and then right click and choose Tag Similar, it will look for all the items that are similar to this one and apply the same tag to it. So in this case, I have Adams, and this is where the affected elements are on the right-hand side. So I have Adams, I have Bedford, and I have Burks. Right? And I can apply this in the same way to H3. So tag similar, right? Again, you can see where it was applied. And I can choose H4 and tag similar. Now, you can imagine how much time this saves me, especially given the fact that these directories are usually in the thousands, if not hundreds of pages. Right? Another issue is when we actually have characters that mean something special. So this little rectangle here, immediately after pharmacy, if I scroll down, I can see that it actually means provides a 90-day supply of maintenance medication. Okay? Now this is probably not readable by a screen reader. Right? So what I can do here is just highlight this element. Okay? So I get this text run. I'm going to do a replace, but this is a replace in alt text only. It's not going to change my physical view. Okay? And I want to copy exactly what it says down here. So I'm going to choose text selection, CommonLook, copy, and then paste. And I can just click on replace all. So I have, in this page alone, 32 occurrences replaced. Also, can you imagine how long this would take to replace? And these are real problems. These are real documents. Okay, these are not made up. So similarly, I can do the same thing for all the other characters with their special meanings. Okay. The third and last example again, if you notice here, I have brand name drugs are capitalized. Okay? And generic drugs are lowercase italics. So how am I going to deal with something like this? Right? So in that same find and replace by alt text, I can provide anybody, sorry, by show of hands, familiar with regular expressions? Yeah. So you can provide regular expressions here. So I can say, for example, something like this. I want from A to Z 3 or more characters, and then followed by A to Z with a space, comma maybe, numbers from 0 to 9, 1 or more. And I want to replace it with brand name drugs, or brand name. And I also have the option of add the replacement text to the text that, because I don't want it just to say brand name drug, right? I wanted to say the name of the drug between brackets brand name drug. So I'm going to say add replacement text to find text after the text. So I have either after or before. I have this option. Okay? I have lots of options here. I'm going to choose to use regular expressions. And I want to match only if within a single tag. Now if I click on replace all, I have two occurrences. This one, and as you can see, it shows the drug name along with brand name. And then this one, same thing. Okay? Now what would I do with the italic, lowercase italic? I also need to write a regular expression, but I can add more restrictions. I can choose here for the font options. I can choose the name of the font, the subtype of the font, the size, the style, the color. All of these things I can search for. But I can, if I check on the style, I can choose italic. Okay? And I can type here a regular expression that actually escapes me right now, of how we can take the first, because it's not only lowercase italic. The first letter could be capital letter, but the rest is lowercase italics and so on. Or I can just do italics if it's only if it's the only thing. Okay. So this is my third and last document in PDF, the CommonLook PDF. I have, again, as I said, lots of other features. I have automatic generation of TOCs. We have also, you can just remove all the role maps. You can flatten the tags. You can do all sorts of things. And you can also search and do bulk operations on tags. Okay? And we can have very complex relationships with search. So I can search for a certain tag that also, you can search in a document or selection. You can also have where the parent tag is, and the child tag is, or the next tag is, or the previous tag is, and it contains a certain text. So I can, for example, search for THs that contain a certain text that is in red. and select that tag. Okay? So this is, like, it saves a whole lot of time. Okay? And you can also search by fields, or sorry, search by tags having certain properties. So search by tags that have, for example, alt text, okay, or a certain alt text value, and so on. Okay, so just very quickly, I'm not sure I will actually have enough time to demonstrate CommonLook Office. Similar document to the one that I was just showing. CommonLook Office integrates, is a Microsoft Word and PowerPoint add-in. The process starts by clicking on the Create CommonLook PDF. It offers you to take you through either WCAG 2, PDFUA, HHS, or Section 508 checkpoints. I'll choose PDFUA. Okay, so it will start by loading and checking which checkpoints of the PDFUA standard actually apply to this document. And then it displays on the right-hand side also a wizard. Okay, so I have, it's saying that this document contains some color. If you want to view it with a filter where it strips the color, just to see the effect of not having color. It also asks me for metadata. I have these values right here. I can provide keywords if I want. Now here it's showing me a flow chart with the textual description flow chart. I also have the option of providing actual text. I can indicate that this image is actually a formula, it's not a figure, so it tags it in a formula tag. Or I can indicate that this is actually an artifact that you don't need to provide alternative text or create a figure tag for. Okay, so it will be ignored from the structure. So it's complaining about the quality of the alt text here being flowchart, being 2 words. Is this appropriate? You can say yes or no to you. Now here I have the table wizard. It's similar to what I have demonstrated in CommonLook PDF. I have 4 options here for each table. I have 3 tables in the document and 4 options. The first one is, this is a presentation table, which in this case it is, right? And do you want it to linearize it vertically or horizontally? I can choose that this is a presentation table and linearize it vertically and move next. This one is actually a data table with column headers only, 1 level of column headers. Okay, next. This is a data table with column and row headers, 3 rows of column headers, and 2 columns of row headers. The terminology is a bit confusing, but it's correct. I mean, I have 3 rows of column headers, imported domestic, apricots, and A grade, and then 2 columns of row headers, earth, and wholesale. Next. And I can also provide the summary here if I need to. Okay. It detected that there are 2 lists here. This is the first list. It shows me how it's going to be tagged. If there are any issues, I can just go in the Word document, fix the list, and click reload. It will refresh the list structures. There are no issues here. It's showing me a link with the alternative text provided for it. Is that acceptable? Yes. Now it's ready to generate. So save. So it's generated successfully. You want to open the PDF. You can also generate a report. This is the generated PDF. You can see it also includes the PDF UA flag. And you can inspect the tags here. It generates the tags and it also includes role mapping. It takes the same tags as Word creates and also creates role mapping. Okay. You notice here that this was actually linearized into 2 paragraphs, this table, while this table was converted to tables, and it also contains all the THs that I wanted, all the TDs, with the correct span. Just don't, sorry, at the time to show them. So this concludes the presentation. CommonLook Office for PowerPoint is exactly the same interface as the one for Word. Okay. Questions?
Thank you, Ferass. Questions?
First of all, thank you for the impressive presentation of your quite sophisticated features. And I would like to ask if your application can correct real content. And I mean, for instance, if it's necessary to split some text operator to have a different, for instance, TT, there is a one text operator in real PDF content, but
you mean text trans?
Different cells.
Yes, we can. I can show it to you if you want offline. You can just select the text run and select split, and you can split it.
So you not edit only tag structure, but content.
You can split text runs, but you can't modify them. I mean, you cannot, for example, replace a word or replace text. You can split only text runs into multiple text runs, but still you have to maintain the same content. And this is something that we did intentionally. We can modify content, but we're actually we're restricting all our changes to the tags and the content.
Okay.
Okay. Go on.
Ferass, did I get the point? You use the tags made with Acrobat, and then you use globelessness.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah.
We don't like tag from scratch.
Yeah. That's the question.
Yes.
Can I record the process and to batch file it?
No, not currently at least.
Okay.
This would be probably part of CommonLook dynamic, which is different issue or different problem.
Other questions?
You look like you're needing coffee now. So 15-minute coffee break, and then we're